Yo guys, Jalen here from Team Infinity doing my Wizards deck. I haven't done it since Springfest and I'm really sorry about that, but I've always been like, uh, well, being part of TBI, we do a lot of testing with each other, so as you see, I played against Joey on the recent video. I am impartial towards this deck. People say it's really good. Maybe I have to find ways to get more cards. Like I don't know, the stupid light and dark nights. I don't know, but I just this deck. It's good. No. I have really a lot of fun with it, but I can't see it doing too well because it just gets walled out so hard by so many things. It's really bad for it. It's really bad for like Wizards to do some if like without a good like flow going and they just get shut down by a size 3, it just starts looking bad. But anyway, enough of that. I know you want to see the list. It is updated to HBT03, but I don't play like a ton of new cards. Like literally I will tell you right now there's like literally only like one new card from HBT03. There wasn't much Wizard support in it, and I really didn't like most of the cards. Like, you can't tell me the new Great Spell's amazing, because you're discarding an entire hand to get one card, and then, oh god, get Never Say Never. And the new size 3's okay, but everyone thinks it's fucking amazing. It's like Virgin Casta all over again. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's the best fucking 3 in Wizards forever, and shit. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm just gonna get onto the deck list. My flag is, of course, Magic World, and my buddy is Dragon Wizard Keenest Axia, as some people in New York like to call it, Gay Blue Dragon. Anyway, pay 1 gauge, 2/2/2, and when it enters the field, deal damage to myself, which I never have done, and 1 to my opponent. Or 1 to my opponent. And so I like it being my buddy, because it's a little fun sometimes when I buddy call, gain a life, and then my opponent loses a life when I use ability, so it's like, oh no, it caused 9/11 if I do it first turn, if I don't deal the damage. American jokes. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much to say. Andy makes it free on call, so really annoying for my opponent when I call 2 of these and they have an open center. It's just like, I'm gonna hit your face. Anyway, for the only size 0 in deck and 1 hollow of it, we have Drag Battle Wizard the Ace. I love Battle Wizard the Ace. We finally got this. Ever since we first had this reveal, I was like, oh my god, when are we getting this? We just didn't get it for a long while, and then we finally got it, and it was rare. I'm so glad it wasn't like some bullshit like a double R or something, so it wouldn't be hard to get. So I really enjoy this card. When it's 2/2. When it's discarded, by any means necessary, you pay a life and draw a card. So it replaces itself for 1 life, which is pretty decent, a really good trade-off. Especially if you have the new era great spell set, so then it pretty much pays for itself, and then you still get 1 gauge out of it, which is really great. It's practically like a null and void kind of Dragon Emperor Legend in some sort of way, well, like an Alvidal in sort of a sense. Um, Anyway, it's sometimes fun when I call a Tempest Wing and then I kosher. I mean, I call this in a Tempest Wing and I kosher, and then and then I do like YOLO stuff, like magically goodbye it back to my hand, and then discard it for Tempest Wing's ability. It's fun. It's fun. I have fun with this deck. Next, we have starting with the size 1s. We have 2 Magician of Glass, Will Glassheart. Say that 10 times fast. Anyway. He is 2/2/1, and as most of you will probably know, he has a great ability where I can pay a gauge and draw a card if he deals damage to my opponent. It's really a lot of fun to call him with anything else, and like Mary Sue or anything, Gendro, who cares? Like any other 2 crit, just attack with the 2 crits, and then they just don't want to take the glass art, they'll take it, and then glass art comes around, to like, block. It's fun. It's fun messing with your opponent's mind. Like, no, I don't want to give you a draw. And then if you do it first turn, they're like, no, I shouldn't first turn null a 2 crit, but he's gonna get a draw. It's so much fun to mess with your opponent's head with this card. Get cards out of their hand that they don't want you, because they don't want you having more cards in your hand. It's just so much fun. 3 magic artist Andy. Andy is 1/2/2 1000 power. Almost never kills anything. Anyway, when he's on the field, if I call a wizard, its call cost is reduced by 1 gauge. So, like I said, my buddy becomes no gauge to call, and I can just burn my opponent. It makes Mary Sue 1 gauge. It makes Iris the Trickster 1 gauge. It makes Tempest Wing 1 gauge when you're breaking the size gap. So it's a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun. It's the only problem with Andy is he's so weak, so I don't want to max him out. So I don't. And then we have for the buddy Keenus Axia. I've already gone over this card and when I explained my buddy, so I'm not going to get into any more detail. Starting on size 2s, we have 2 Center of the World Mary Sue. Everyone's like, no, you play 4 or 3 of this. If I had 3, maybe I'll try 3. If I want to, I won't. I will, but I don't want to. And I really have never found the need to. I can magical goodbye it if I want to get more spells. I can search a magical goodbye so I can do so. I can search first volume and then get the gauge back, or I can grandfather clock, put it back in my deck, and I can do it later again. I really don't feel the need to have more of these. It costs me more gauge to get an average size 2, even for Magic World, and it's just in my opinion, just an easy segue to other spells, which everyone's going to say, that's the point of the card, it's amazing. I mean, it is amazing, but you don't need to max out something just because it seemed like it should be. Not, like, if someone said, oh, here's Halberd, like, in this meta, you want to max it out? It's 626 for 1 gauge and move, why not? Oh, because there's problems with it? Because of certain things? Oh, then that's why you don't max it out. That's why I won't max out Mary Sue. Next up, we have 2 Iris the Trickster, Mischief Iris the Trickster. Iris the Trickster is really lots of fun. As you know, she's a trickster. She likes to play pranks. So, pay 2 gauge to call 524. So 1,000 more power and defense than Mary Sue, and has a very useful ability just like Mary Sue. I can return a monster of any size or an item to the owner's hand. So I can practically get rid of a soul from Kaiserion. Yay. 1 soul. Totally gonna matter. Anyway. I mean, depending on what soul they get rid of. But anyway, I was the trick. Or I can return something problematic in the center. I can make Seagull with no soul go away. I can make I can make a Tempest Enforcer cry. But that's not usually what happens. It's usually I just get rid of a center monster if they're trying to play close center. Start going for face. They'll call it back. It probably most likely calls gauge to them. And then I'll just drop a size 3 to get rid of it. And they just wasted their time calling it back again. It's a lot of fun. Or magical goodbye it back to my hand with an Andy, and then I only played 1 gauge to keep bouncing their shit. Next up, we have the last of my size 2s, and it is Magical Secretary Gendro Saki. 422, and it's basically Zagan. If you've played, it was the original Zagan, and then Zagan had to come in and just be the better one. What? What do you mean the better one? It's art, so if you actually played that, it's actually got at least this decent synergy and something else. It's a rare, when this is with a double R, the struggle. They get the exact same card, but it's a rare, and we get a double R. That's totally fair. Anyway, Gendrosaki, pay all your cast costs of all your Magic World spells become reduced by 1 gauge, so nice ones become Pot of Greeds for all you Yu-Gi-Oh players. Yay, that sounds broken to you, but this game's completely different, so Pot of Greed isn't stupid, especially since you can't activate multiple of them in a turn, so you can't abuse the shit out of it. Next, we have 2 Champion Wrestler Asmodai. Wait, this is a 72 pillar. What's he doing here? If you've seen the Ace, it needs to be discarded for its ability. This helps that a lot, along with dealing with a lot of stupid shit. Dealing with Kaiserion game 1s, I can just drop Champ Modai, pop one of them, and then my weak monsters can finally hit the opponent. Yay! And I can go for 2-2, and if they decide to just kill it afterward, it was already going to probably die because of its 1,000 defense. I really like this card. It's 2 gauge to call, and it's a really decent size 3, just 9,000 power. Sometimes it helps me deal with them Spartans. Helps me deal with some Raging Spirits like what's his name? Billy Knuckle. So it's really a lot of fun. It makes you pop set spells, set impacts, anything. It's really, really good. and probably one of my favorite size 3s in the entire game, Drago Wizard Tempest Wing. Tempest Wing is a 726, a double attack, pay 2 gauge to call, 1 gauge if I have an Andy out already, and I can discard it and if you haven't read the errata, the real effect of it is if you discard discard a wizard, and if I do, I can put a monster from either side of the field into the owner's gauge. It's really great, weird removal, in a sense. With Soul Guard monsters, it makes them use Soul Guard regardless, but it's not destroying, so they can't use Drago Bonds and other annoying cards you don't want to deal with. So Tempest Wing is really great for doing that. And in certain decks, Gauge is bad to give your opponent, so there are moments when you don't want to do it, but there are plenty of points where he's not so bad to give your opponent Gauge. Like, if I go against, example, not Dungeon World, or not Danger World, I don't mind giving them Gauge, or I don't like giving the Mirror Match, or any Magic World matchup for Gauge, for that matter, but, there are a few matchups where giving Gauge isn't really, like, detrimental. Sorry. Now on to spells. We have 2 great spells. My Grandfather Clock is a really great card. It gets you another turn. The only time I ever use this in desperation is when I'm in a bad matchup, like a size 3 matchup, and I haven't drawn any of my Tempest or Champ Modis to help me deal with those cards. Other than that, it's always usually used to end the game, because it gives you an extra turn to pretty much screw up your opponent. I'm always usually just going like, oh, my opponent's at 4 life, and I got enough for the 6 different wizards, I just drop this, and then I have at least two crit monsters, on my field, and I'll start hitting, and if they block, I'm just gonna have my other turn, so I can try again. And it's really great. It's not so good early game, so that's why it's only at 2, and playing 3 is only, or 4 is only in a Grandfather Clock Turbo deck where you would run like No Pain, No Gain and all this random shit. Next up, we have 2 copies of Key of Solomon First Volume and Key of Solomon Second Volume. These cards, I don't know how to feel about them. They're helpful sometimes, and at other times, if I see this without this, I hate this. Obviously. If I see this and I need life or draw, I want to see this. It's always like, I want to see more of these, but I'm not going to run more of these because it relies on these, so I would have to run more of these, and it ruins my space. So I'm not going to run more of these. It's fine at 2 and 2. If I have a Mary Sue and I have one of either in the hand, I'm going to search out the other copy. The opposite. So if I have a second volume hand, I'm going to search a first volume. And if I have a second volume, I'm going to search a first volume and make these work. Next up, we have 2 Chillax. I only main 2 Chillax because I always have Chillax in bad situations, like no gauge and I can't use it, or people were killing Gendro before and I have no gauge. Well, it's the same situation, no gauge. But either way, it's usually, sometimes I don't really want it because there are sometimes matchups where there are a lot more decks where reduce impacts, like non-reducible impacts, are a thing, like Dragon World, 11 Giga Howling Crusher, and especially, I don't really see a lot of cards that say, I mean, there are a few more now, but there aren't too many decks that I run into where they have cards that are like, you can't nullify this attack, so I don't really fear that. Even if they do, if I have a center monster, I'm going to magical goodbye it anyway, so I'm not nullifying the attack, but I'm stopping the damage per se if it has penetrate. But either way, I'm just not really against the card. My sideboard has more of these, but I just don't feel the need to main 3 or 4 anymore. Next up, we have 3 Kosher. With the amount of size 3s in my deck, I guess it's maybe only 5, but this is Magic World we're talking about, so with the amount of size 3s in my deck, I don't want to max out this, and even though I can discard it for, say, Champ Modi isn't synergetic with the deck because he's not a wizard, so having him out, if I called an ace, wouldn't help, unless I call 2, and that would be mind-boggling and stupid of me, so I'm not going to do something like that, but either way, Kosher is really great. If I have 2 more wizards, I gauge and draw, and I can use 1 Kosher per turn. It's really good when I do end up dead drawing 1, and then I can do something like I said, Champ Modi and discard any dead copies in my hand. So most dead copies of cards can turn into champ modi fodder, or I can save it for other turns. And next up we have obligatory draw spell that everyone thinks is broken. Then you have your body replacement clone, your midnight shadow clone, whatever you want to call it. Solomon shield, if it's not a link attack, then nullify the attack. Then we have magical goodbye. Everyone's usually hated, yet slash loved, yet slash annoyed. Semi counter removal slash penetrate ruining card. You give it to my center, and if they try and double penetrate, I just get my monster back, and they didn't do any damage to me. My favorite to do sometimes is just usually those kind of really problematic monsters that people call for a lot of gauge and their size 2 or less, like say it's the tip of my tongue, maybe like Ogre Ace, maybe not really. But maybe something like there's not too many size 2s anymore that like we would bounce them back and it costs so much investment and then just ruin it. Maybe a fawn and then they have no gauge afterward and then or something like that, or drum bunker or drum break or like spinning lance drum or something like that. Now, despite my buddy being Axia, this is not a burn wizard deck, and as you've seen through his entire profile, this is not a burn wizard deck. I just like Axia for extra damage. So, instead of running a gun rod for whatever reason, I am going to run a magical arm burning fist because one life isn't too bad, and I get a 3,000